Today we're looking at Practice Test 6, the Math No Calculator section, only Heart of Algebra questions, and there are 8 of them. Number 1. Salim wants to purchase tickets from a vendor to watch a tennis match. The vendor charges a one-time service fee for processing the purchase of the tickets. The equation t is equal to 15n plus 12 represents the total amount t in dollars Salim will pay for n tickets. What does 12 represent in the equation? In a linear equation like this, the m value represents a recurring cost, which here is 15 multiplying by n. The b value represents a starting value, or an upfront cost, a one-time fee rather than a recurring one. So the $12 here is equal to the amount of the service fee in dollars. You only have to pay it once. Number 2. A gardener buys 2 kinds of fertilizer. Fertilizer A contains 60% filler materials by weight, and fertilizer B contains 40% filler materials by weight. Together, the fertilizers bought by the gardener contain a total of 240 pounds of filler materials. Which equation models this relationship where X is the number of pounds of fertilizer A and Y is the number of pounds of fertilizer B? So let's consider that 60% is equivalent to the fraction 60 out of 100. If we're dividing something by 100, that means we're going to move the decimal place to the left twice. So if we do that, 60% becomes 0.60. And fertilizer A is represented by X, so that's where we take the 0.6x. We do the same thing with 40%. We move the decimal twice to the left, and we get 0.4. This is multiplied by Y, which represents our amount of fertilizer B. And the total amount of filler is 240. So we can see choice B is the best choice. Number 5. Which of the following is the graph of the equation y is equal to 2x minus 5 in the xy plane? Let's start with the minus 5 part of this equation. That's the b value, and it represents the y-intercept. The y-intercept is where a line crosses the y-axis. So which one of these lines crosses the y-axis at negative 5? Choice A crosses about 2.5. Choice B does cross down here at negative 5. Choice C at positive 5. And choice D at negative 5. So we can rule out, based on the intercept, choice A and choice C as not being correct. Next, let's consider the slope. That's the m value, the number in front of x. We see this is a positive 2. A positive slope will go up as you go from left to right, like in choice D. Choice B would represent a line that has a negative slope. Without even really graphing it, just by looking at the intercept and the slope, we find our answer pretty quickly. Number 6. If x is equal to 2/3 y and y is equal to 18, what is the value of 2x minus 3? The first thing we can do is we can substitute in place of y what it's equal to, which is 18. So this becomes x is equal to 2/3 multiplied by 18. We consider 18 as a fraction, 18 over 1, and we multiply straight across the top to get 36, and straight across the bottom to get 3. If we complete that division, x turns out to be equal to 12. We're going to use this to plug into our second equation. We're going to replace x with what it's equal to. So it becomes 2 times 12 minus 3. 2 times 12 is 24. When we subtract 3, we get 21. Number 10. Jamie is preparing for a bicycle race. His goal is to bicycle an average of at least 280 miles per week for 4 weeks. He bicycled 240 miles the first week, 310 miles the second week, and 320 miles the third week. Which inequality can be used to represent the number of miles x Jamie could bicycle in the 4th week to meet his goal? So to calculate the average, what we would do is add the number of miles for each week and divide by the total number of weeks. So we know 1 week, 280 miles. We're going to add to that 310. We're going to add to that 320. And we don't know the value of the 4th week, so we can put plus x. To figure out the average of these 4, we'll divide by 4. And we know that this, whatever this equals, is at least 280. At least means it could be 280, and it could be something larger. So we're going to use a greater than or equal to sign, and put 280 over here on the right. While none of our answer choices look exactly like this, one of them can be found by taking this inequality and doing a little bit of manipulation. If we look at choice A, the reason why this one is wrong is because we have 4 different terms, but we are only dividing by 3. That x is inaccurately included in the average. For choice B, we have our 3 terms on the left, but x is being multiplied on the right instead of being incorporated into the average on the left. For choice C, we have these 3 terms that are all divided by 4. However, x is not divided by 4. Lastly, with D, we notice that the 4 is on the other side. So what they did was they took this equation and they multiplied both sides by 4. On the left, things canceled out, and on the right, we took 4 times 280. That's why this one is the correct answer. Number 14. A laundry service is buying detergent and fabric softener from its supplier. The supplier will deliver no more than 300 pounds in a shipment. Each container of detergent weighs 7.35 pounds, and each container of fabric softener weighs 6.2 pounds. The service wants to buy at least twice as many containers of detergent as containers of fabric softener. Let D represent the number of containers of detergent, and let S represent the number of containers of fabric softener. Where D and S are non-negative integers, which of the following systems of inequalities best represents this situation? So the first inequality is pretty straightforward. The detergent weighs 7.35 pounds each, so we can put 7.35 times D. And the fabric softener weighs 6.2 each, so we'll add to that 6.2 per fabric softener container. And we know that together they weigh no more than 300 pounds. This means we should use less than or equal to, because it could be 300 at most, but it could be something less as well. For the second inequality, we have to consider the ratio between the two. Let's revisit that sentence. The service wants to buy at least twice as many containers of detergent as containers of fabric softener. Let's pick a number for fabric softener and say there were 2 containers of fabric softener. Well, they would have to have at least 4 containers of detergent. It's very tempting then to choose an inequality like B, where 2D is greater than or equal to S. Because look, the D value, or the coefficient for D, is twice that of S. The correct way to write this inequality, however, is to say that D is greater than or equal to 2S. Notice if we plugged in this number of fabric softener containers into the equation, 2 times 2 would give us the 4. It's kind of counterintuitive, but that's the correct way to write it. That leaves us with the best choice being letter A. The problem with C was that D was doubled in both equations. Number 17. 2/3 t is equal to 5/2. What value of t is the solution of the equation above? To cancel out multiplying t by a fraction, we can multiply by the reciprocal. So if we take both sides times 3/2, on the left here, 3 over 3 cancels out, 2 over t cancels out, and all we have is t. On the right side, we multiply fractions straight across. 5 times 3 gives us 15, and 2 times 2 gives us 4. Can we reduce that fraction at all? No, we can't. 15 over 4 is your final answer. Number 19. How many liters of a 25% saline solution must be added to 3 liters of a 10% saline solution to obtain a 15% saline solution? A key technique is converting between percentages and decimals in this problem. If you know that 25% is the same thing as 25 out of 100, which means you divide 25 by 100, which has 2 zeros, so we take 25% and we move the decimal place to the left twice, which gives us 0.25. A similar thing happens for 10%. We know this is 10 over 100, and we move the decimal place over twice, so 10 becomes 0.1, and similarly 0.15. So we're going to multiply these concentrations by how many liters there are of each. There's an unknown number of this 25% solution, so we'll replace that with x. And there's 3 liters of this 10% solution. Together, we form a new solution that has a concentration of 15%. But how many liters is there of this solution? Well, we know that it's 3 plus however many liters there are of the 25% solution. So we'll write that as 3 plus x. If we multiply out a little bit, we have 0.25x plus 0.3 is equal to, and if we distribute this, 0.45 plus 0.15x. So we're going to move all of our x terms to the left and all of our numbers to the right. I can do this by subtracting 0.15x from both sides. And I'm left with, on the left, 0.1x plus a 0.3 is equal to 0.45. And if I subtract 0.3 from both sides, this gives me that 0.1x is equal to 0.15. And I guess I could put a 0 in front of here. If you want to stick with decimals, you can, but we can use that trick where we multiply both sides by 10, or even both sides by 100. And all that means is that we're moving the decimal place on both sides. So if we did it again even, we would get 10x is equal to 15. If we divide both sides by 10, we see that x is equal to 1.5, or 1.5.